Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 3 of LoopStudio Talks. Today I'm chatting with Sebastian, our user experience and user interface leader at LoopStudio. Seba, how it's going?
Hi Edu, how are you? All good. Excited to be here.
All good, all good. Yeah, you're the first designer joining the LoopStudio Talks. That's brave. As I mentioned to Andy and Maddie, everyone will have their time, but it's good to have you here.
What a challenge. Thank you.
Let's start with the basics. So, what does UX UI leader do at LoopStudio?
Here in LoopStudio, we have like several things. I work mainly with the client, so I most of my day is focused on that project, and I search, I make some research, I design, I talk to the development team. I have a lot of tasks within that project. And from the lead perspective, I kind of help on some other projects, more like a kind of like consultant, just to as a guide of different projects. And if it's necessary to something is too complex or something like that, I can help you out, help the person is there to solve that issues. And also, if some client from another project asks me something just to because they're having any trouble or whatever, I try to find a solution. If it's necessary, I delegate that task to whoever on the team is available to do it. And also, I have also worked in some design sprints as a designer. It was quite fun. But yes, kind of like that, playing around with different things from the main project that I am, and also some internal tasks within Loop needs.
Moving around all these tasks and all the responsibilities with clients, with the team, with the company, what does a typical day look for you like? How is your schedule? I don't want to imagine that.
No, since now that I'm working mainly with one client, that is kind of more clear than it used to be, because I used to be with different projects at the same time, and that was kind of really complex. But now it's more organized. But yes, I have my what I normally do when I get to a computer. I kind of analyze what I did on the previous day and what things were pending from the previous task, the ones that I completed and the ones that are have to complete that day. So I kind of organize all the tasks that I have on the due for the day. I mostly do that on Monday, so I kind of organize the entire week. And then I see which meetings do I have on that day, so I can play around on which tasks do I highlight or prioritize first on the day. I kind of also talk to developers if it's needed. If I have some question or something that I'm designing something that I don't know if it's possible to implement. So I kind of also talk with the dev team and also with the product owner if I have any question or if I have a meeting there. And and kind of like that, I kind of try to play moving from meetings to designing to talk to different stakeholders.
That's good. That's good. I can imagine you share a lot of time also, not just with your design team, but also with the developers. But I have a question because Loop Studio is an agency focused in work and help cybersecurity companies in build better products. But this goes before something and is for those who might not be familiar, is what is a design sprint? And you mentioned in your first when you like to do that too. So what is a design sprint and why do we use it?
A design sprint is a great process that I discovered here in Loop Studio. I heard about it before, but I never participated in a design sprint. And it's a process that is held in just 1 week. The idea is some of the different design thinking activities are selected to be on a rearranged schedule to define a problem from the beginning and that week design a solution for that problem, prototype it, and test it all in 1 week. And it's kind of amazing. It's a really intense process, but it's really worth it. It's really great, and I learn a lot from it.
Awesome. Can you mention a little bit about the key phases of a design sprint? Because you mentioned it's a week, but how that week is composed to have results.
Yeah, we it's kind of, I said a week because the main thing here, the main process, the one that Google Ventures designed, is just 1 week. But here on Loop Studio, we kind of make a more like a whole package with the design sprint. So we kind of have that first intense first week, but then we add like 2 weeks more to iterate that the design and also all the project roadmap. But yeah, it has different stages. The idea, and it also changed from the beginning. The now we have from Google Ventures, they have this 2.0 design sprint that reduce the day in 1 day. And the idea is to first meet the client, understand the problem that they are having, and on the first day, the idea, the whole point of this day is to understand the problem, to see what the client needs, what the problem is, every perspective from each member of the they are participating um, from this issue. And the goal of the day is to, once we have a defined problem to work on, is to create a user journey for the user to, from login to a goal, achieve a goal that we define on that first day. And it could be for one role, could be for 4 roles that we have one design sprint that we made. But yes, it's the more important day, because it's kind of where you set all the scope for the following days. Then on the second day, we have the sketch. That's kind of more the fun part, because I like to draw. Sometimes the members of the team that are participating they don't like to draw, but they also enjoy this part. So we create all these sketches, and then with all these sketches, we create a storyboard that kind of represents what we made on the first date on the user journey. And that storyboard represent the blueprints for the designer. In my case, this is the guide that I will use on the next day to prototype. I will have to I have to understand each screen, because that will make my life easier. And once it's prototype, on the last day we tested with potential or real users, and it's amazing to see real users interact with what you designed the previous day in just 1 week. Is glorious.
Awesome, awesome. But you mentioned something in the first day is like the second day for sure is the best day for you, the designers, because you enjoy sketching and drawing and that kind of stuff. But the first day is a heavy day where you work a lot with also the client. So do you
Yeah.
need a lot of their time in that week? How is that relation with him?
Yeah, the maybe that's true. Maybe the first day is kind of the most demanding day for the client, because we need to a lot of information from them. They normally also call someone from their company to also show their point of view of the problem that we're going to solve. So yes, this is kind of the more intense day in terms of information. We are gathering a lot of information that day, which is great, because it makes us really understand the problem that we are facing. But yes, on that 5 days, let's say that we need a full time dedication from the client from the first 3 days, the fourth day for prototyping, and the fifth day for the testing. We now adapt our design sprint to the 2.0, the one that Google Ventures did. So we gain 1 day there. So it's less dedication from the client. Now we only need them for 3 days, the whole week, and we have 2 days for prototyping. And yeah,
Fantastic. So we know if someone is listening or watching these videos, if you want to do a design sprint, you need a almost whole week full time working with us.
yeah, let's say that. Yeah, because even in the days that you are not having meeting with us, we kind of need your to be aware of the Slack or whatever the communication channel that we recreate. We don't on the prototyping day. We don't need you to be on a meeting for 4 or 5 hours. but we need you to be aware of the if we have any questions, so we will ask you through Slack or through other channels or apps.
Good, good. We know design sprint is a process. It's for some people a really known process. For someone, it's something that they are learning also with us. So, but every industry is different. And how do you tailor a design sprint for cybersecurity companies with complex needs?
Yes, the one amazing thing of the design sprint is that it's completely customizable. We understand all the clients' needs, and we understand that it's not easy sometimes to block their agendas for 1 week. So we adapt all the agenda for the client to be participating on each of the activities, and we also could select some of the activities that we are from the design sprint manual already has this recommended schedule, but depending on the project sometimes we remove some of the activities because we know that this project it will be great to understand more this part, so we are using some of the activities and not all of them. But yes, we always try to customize the design sprint depending on the project, depending on the client's needs, depending on the time, that is the availability of the client. But yeah, that's something positive of the design sprint, that is fully customizable.
Awesome. But also, every complexity comes with some challenge. So, what are some common challenges that teams face during a design sprint? How do you help them?
Yes, it could be appear a lot of challenges. One challenge that I think is kind of normally appear, and it could be complex to solve, is that because one thing that this process needs is that we need the compromise from every member of the team that are participating on the design sprint, and some members of the team, mainly from the client side, could be a little like skeptical something about the process, and they don't kind of fully understand at the beginning. But we normally just talk with the client or with the member of the team that is participating and try to make him understand that the how it work, why we need everyone to participate, and what is the function for each of the activities, and and we solve that way. The synergy on that process between each member of the team is great. So we always try to manage that way. But yeah, if I have to mention one of the challenges that we faced, maybe it's that the attention or the skepticism of the one member of the team.
Okay, yeah, because it's sometimes a lot of people sharing ideas, trying to understand a problem, a product, all the scenario, also a business. You need to learn almost a business to do this. How is the communication between teams? Because you are not just working alone. You have designers, developers, clients, product
Yeah.
owners, project managers. It's a huge. How do you manage that communication?
Yeah, we normally that's one of the main things that we mention of the when we organize a design sprint and we are selecting the team. It is kind of crucial that the team must be interdisciplinary. Have to be a designer, have to be a developer, and if we always try to, if we need developer from the back end or from the front end, we also try to figure out which one we have to integrate into a team. But the communication is always positive. It's always kind of, always flows. We try also to have some meetings previous of the beginning of the design sprint to make the client and all the members of the design sprint how the process works, have a kind of a sneak peek of how this process and all these activities work and what we ask them to do during this week. But the communication is always good since we are kind of almost in a round table. Besides, we are far away from each other, but the communication is always good, happily.
That's good. A remote table. So in all this process, we talk about communication, collaboration, problems, but what's the most rewarding part of leading a design sprint?
Yeah, I think the most rewarding part is the last day. The last day of the first week is when I ended, from my perspective as a designer, when I end the fourth day, when I end the prototype, complete the prototype with all the steps that we have to make, from my end, it's like I ended, I completed this day. I have the prototype ready to be tested. And but if I have to mention the most rewarding part is the fifth day, is to see the users interacting with the prototype that you have made the previous day. That's amazing. It's always rewarding to see real users or potential users to interacting with what you have made, and all those assumptions that you take that says, of course, the user is going to see this and maybe they don't, or and it's really great for maybe if they don't understand, or if they do understand, it's always really rewarding to see that real users interact.
Most of the people didn't realize about the importance of this process to build a great product, and
Totally.
the user experience is all in an application. It's all.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a long story for different. A lot of startups already pass through this, that they are some made some assumptions that they are wrong, and it's really great that just in 1 week you see that, and you save a lot of time doing it.
Can you share an example about this, like how the direction of a product changed completely after a design sprint?
Yeah, I remember one design sprint that we have had is that the on the fifth day the product owner realized that the idea don't worth it to dedicate to continue with it, because all the testing, all the users that have tested the prototype that we made say kind of negative things, but they say like, I know that it could be helpful, but for doing this, I can use this. I already use this platform to perform this action, and maybe this and that. And it's all kind of different things that make the product owner realize that their idea was good, but there were already solutions in the market that the users already are using. So it's kind of a negative way to end a design sprint, but it's also positive because the clients save a lot of money. Instead of dedicating a month of developing and designing, they only dedicate 1 week and realize that, all right, maybe I have to make a spin-off or something like that, or my idea to make it worth. And yes, maybe that is the example I have most for represent that scenario.
It's crazy how that could happen. Going back to cybersecurity and performance, function, and form. Cybersecurity products most of the time focus really in the function, in the security of their products, but never go over the form and the usability. So how do you balance usability with technical complexity?
Yes, yeah, that's totally true. That's a great deal, because it's true that the function is the main thing here on this kind of platform. And sometimes to make an notorious change on a product could be great, but I understand that it could also be risky, because some of the users that interact with these kind of platforms kind of already know how the flows are between these kind of products. So trying to reduce that complexity sometimes could signify adding more steps, but by adding more steps you are adding more intuitiveness to that, to the which I found really great, and it appears in a lot of books of the usability that adding clicks is not a negative. If the adding clicks has a meaningful experience, and it helps the user to understand that path. But sometimes it's kind of difficult to make that change and convince the user that that's helpful. But yes, the idea, this kind of products has a lot of complexity. It tends to have a lot of complexity. And from my perspective, I always try to minimize that complexity and work on the flows. I always try to represent that user flow within a diagram so I can see if it's possible to, if I can break something apart to make it simpler and easier for the user. But yes, that's totally true. That happens a lot.
And if you need to share some, provide some advice to a cybersecurity company, what you would say that they need to avoid?
Yes, I think maybe one thing that is kind of difficult to, because most of these the cybersecurity platforms are at some point mainly dashboards, or a big part of these products are dashboards. So it's kind of difficult to make that that product highlight from the rest. And that's kind of a difficult part from the designer's perspective. So it's I will recommend to find a way to make an identity for the platform with besides it's kind of the same layout as the rest of the platforms. We always try to do that to make that has all what the clients needs, but has its own identity that represent the brand. And there are some changes that helps the user to also perform their task. And if you see that product, you will see, all right, this is a product that has identity. I can clearly see the all the steps that I have to follow to achieve my task. And yeah, but it has a lot of branches there, that tree, so it's kind of difficult to recommend something specific. But
So,
yes,
so because most of the time, everything that you share is thinking on the user and
yeah.
how he will perform better at all the steps. That's good. Seba, looking ahead, like what trends in user experience and user interface do you think will have the biggest impact in the future?
Well, let me say that the main thing here, the main trends is the AI part. I'm using it. I know I have to use more. So I want to understand how useful it is. But if I have to say a trend, I will say that the AI is a kind of the main trend here, and for most of the products that we design. And we have to be a friend of the AI and not against it, just to see how we can use it to be faster, be quicker when we design, we have more options or whatever. If I have mention a trend on the not only on cybersecurity but on UX UI and designing is the AI platforms. Be friend of those kind of platforms and try to use as much as you can from them.
We will see what also the tech team are going to say about AI, but I have my concerns always, and I think this will go slower than we think, the
Yeah.
changes, but we've been afraid when OpenAI appear and all the things, but it will need to take time. AI made mistakes today, so
Sure.
we're going to see. Seba, it was really great to have you here. Thanks a lot. A fantastic talk. I think everyone learned a lot about user experience, about improving projects, about design sprint. I think we will need another meeting to just get inside to some products or more about user experience. But thanks for being here. And I hope you join again in a couple of months.
Yeah, it could be right. Yeah. Thank you, Edu, for having me here. Pleasure to be. Thank you.
So thanks again, Seba, and everyone for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Have a good one.